Hey, thank you for watching the Duster for Hoosier Garage.
You're watching the Hoosier Garage.
We're on our 72 Plymouth Duster. It's full on restoration of this car. We're getting wrapped up on a lot of the block sanding, trying to get it prepped up and ready for paint before the winter sets in. Today I'd like to get the roof seam. It's where the quarter pane on the roof, they have a flange, a recessed flange here that meet together. I welded it like the factory did about a year ago, and I decided I want to reinforce a little bit more, so I drilled some holes on the surface, this skin, and then plugged it up a little bit more. So we're going to clean this up, going to grind these a little bit smoother, and we're going to use a filler in there. Now, originally, if you had a non-vinyl top car, which this one was a non-vinyl top car, they filled them with lead. They had a certain method they went and did that with. It's kind of a lost art, although some people are still able to do that now. We're not going to do the lead though. One reason I reinforced a little bit more is so we can use our short strand fiberglass filler, which I've used in several cars in the past, and they've held up great even to this day, and some of those are 15, 20-year-old restorations, so really good. And just for the information, vinyl top cars, if this had a vinyl top, would have come down to here, or actually the ones up here wouldn't have counted in that case, but the ones that come down here that covered this seam, they would have used like a lightweight body filler, kind of like Bondo. It tends to be a little too thick in there, and they'll crack over time. So, and you could tell which cars were filled with plastic because they'll have stress fractures in them, or they'll be lifted out. So the short strand is much, much better. You can go thicker than the Bondo, and it's watertight, so it's not going to let any water, because Bondo will absorb water and then it starts having some issues. Fiberglass won't do that. We used fiberglass over here in this drip rail, which is what they used seam sealer originally. So we're kind of switching it up on some stuff and we're making it a little bit better. It's a little bit more resilient. So let's get started. We're going to start by wire brushing this, and then we're going to clean up some of these welds where they're a little tall, and then we'll get into some filler.
Grass browns, the grass greens, the breeze, the sunshine, it can warm your mind. It feels good, it feels fine. Hot days, cool nights, the summer dreams gonna come out tonight. In love.
So what I had mixed up some and did this side. This is curing. It's currently feeling very warm. It's going through the curing process, and I basically force pressed it in there. That way it gets up around everything it needs to and gets a good firm hold. And I happen to have just a little bit to lay it on a little extra. That way when we shave it down, we won't have as much to backfill. So we have it'll probably put about 85–90% of it where it needs to be, and then we might have a couple spots we'll have to touch up. We can use regular body filler more than likely on that. It'll be thin enough to be able to do that. So I took whatever I had a little bit left of and just put it in the corners here, just kind of shore up those areas in here. So I'm going to mix up a little bit more, and we're going to put it in there, and then we can let that cure, and we'll jump to another area while this sets up and we can get it all blocked out and sanded. So as this is cured, I went through and block sanded this out. You saw a little bit of that. And you can see the low areas here. And there's several in here where it wraps around. These panels, especially the roof, that kind of cups in a little bit so that it'll have room to take a feather to it. I need to come down here a little bit more, and I need to fill in these areas. Now before I decided that I'm going to put more on it, I did use a vacuum and pull all the dust out of these areas because it'll cake up in there. And then I took the air nozzle and blew it out. That way you don't put some stuff on it that's fresh and it's not setting on the actual fiberglass. It's setting on the powder that you sanded off. So make sure you blow all that out, and you'll see all these little pinholes show up when you do that. That'll give you something to fill up. But we're just going to get these heavy areas first through here, and then we'll finish it out in some lightweight Bondo type filler. Gonna do this on both sides. All right, I actually got tired of filming it because when I did the last fiberglass layer or coat, I went to the lightweight stuff, Bondo, and I did about 4 rounds of that on both sides, and I just got tired of just basically you were seeing the same thing over and over and over. These roofs, they almost feel like they're bubbled out. They're not. They actually tuck them in so it tucks. And then this area right here needs to block with it. Well, I kept coming up underneath it and undercutting it, so it was a little bit of a problem there, and I kept digging it out, so I had to kind of do a different direction. So that's the thing about block sanding. Sometimes you just got to understand where the curve is. This one kind of comes down, but also comes back at an angle. So we got it all under control. It's at least good enough to throw some epoxy primer on it, and then you can kind of vet out any other issues that it might still have. Same thing with the other side. We're smooth over there. I actually hit it with some 180 after we smoothed that out. We got the back part here where this little window surround is, and then this is kind of hard here where it dips in for the drip rail and around the cups around the window here. This part isn't too bad other than the undercutting. So let's go to the next part and I'll explain what's left. Okay, so what's next is I'm going to spot prime these areas. That's really going to help bring it all together, because as far as I've had this car together since rebuilding it, it's had that big gap right there. So I'm going to spot that up. I already have this block sanded down here. I've done that a few times, both sides. That's why I got this kind of taped off like that. I'll just put the stream down a little bit, that way it doesn't blow it everywhere. And we can hit that area, hit both of these. I got the front of the fender. We did it, that's in another video. And that'll do it for now. But it'll be a good place to end. I'm going to work the next few days, so when I come back around, I want to kind of be ready to hit the next thing. And the next thing is going to be to finish the roof out here. It's about 50% done. And then the cowl. I get those 2 areas done, then it's going to be get the whole thing in one coat of epoxy, make sure everything's good. We're going to fine-tune, comb everything, check it, repair anything, fill anything that needs filled, and then we'll probably Scotch-Brite it. We'll get us some 2K primer, mask it all off real good, 2K it. We're going to have to sand that, and that'll be in the next step. We won't go any further, because if you stick around, you'll see you're going to see what happens. All right, so just All right, so a week or so later, I thought I'd end the video this way. We've got some other stuff going on, just touch-up stuff that we're getting ready. And this isn't immune to it. We'll have to go over some things just to make sure. We have like a couple little, very small scratches, but that's stuff you actually want to fill rather than rely on a 2K primer to deal with that. And you do see the bodywork telegraphing through. That's just because the epoxy is on top of that. Now, if you go to the 2K, like we will do here soon, and then hit it with the epoxy or a sealer, this will all look even. You won't see any of that through there, and that's one of the main reasons. One of the main reasons to use 2K primer. It just smooths everything out. You can see our body line's looking good here. The body line here is pretty good. Of course, we did the drip rail last week, so this is all smooth. It looks very, almost like plastic. You know, it just all looks like it's as it's intended, as it's designed. Let's take a look at the other side, and then we'll finish up. Other than a little bit of dust, you kind of see what's going on. Our body line's good here too. It looks the same width from here to here. So there's a consistency. You can run your hand over it. It feels pretty good. It seems like you always feel it just a little bit, just the way that, you know, I mean, this is old technology, and that's just kind of the way it flows, but it's smooth. Same thing here. Couple little variances, but some of that can get taken care of with fine grit sandpaper, some of it with 2K, and some of it you need to put just a little touch of filler in there and detail sand it. So there's that. You kind of see it looks like it's supposed to, both sides. And then obviously this, just as a reference down here, this is smooth. A lot of times you'll have the seam and it will be, you know, caulked with something like a seam sealer or body filler. And this is the Duraglass. This is the short strand stuff. I don't like to use regular lightweight or Bondo filler in there because it does absorb, and this being that far up the ground, if there's any nicks and stuff, it's going to start absorbing it, and that's why they always swell up here. And then they start, because they're basically holding that moisture against your metal, and you have issues. So there's that, and we're almost ready. I'm going over some stuff here like I mentioned earlier. Fine tooth comb. We're hitting these seams where we had to cut them for the quarter panel to make the gap right. Right there where the sanding block is, I'm working on that area there. We fix this area, you almost forget about it now, and that's the cool thing. You forget about stuff, and it's not like it's a big project anymore. So we're gonna block this out. This is lightweight filler. And we have another coat here of some areas that were low and little pits and stuff in the old filler that we was using. So I'm really glad about that. The roof has really been kind of a nightmare, but we'll highlight that all in the next video. Thanks for watching this video on our 72 Plymouth Duster. It's been a long series. We're up in the early 40s now on this. It's been going for a few years. I appreciate y'all watching. And make sure you stay tuned, subscribe if you haven't already, to the Hoosier Garage, and you'll see the results of this car as it has went from zero to hero. So, it's all right here, Hoosier Garage.
WFBQ Indianapolis. Indie Rocks on FBQ 95.